lesson is all about relation and function. When we say relation, it is the relationship between the set of values. In mathematics, it is the relationship between x and y. The set of all values is called the domain, while the set of all y values is the range. Relation can be represented in three ways. First, we can use the mapping diagram, the table, and the graph. Example number 1, we have the ordered pairs 0 and 5, 1 and 3, 2 and 1, 3 and -1, 4 and -3. So first, we will use the mapping. Mapping is composed of two ovals, or if you are familiar with Venn diagram, but these ovals are not overlapping. The first oval is for x values, while the second oval is for the y values. So we will have first 0 and 5. So we will write 0 in the first oval, and then 5 in the second oval, and then it will be connected with an arrow. Same as with the second ordered pair, 1 and 3. And then the third ordered pair, 2 and 1. And then the fourth ordered pair, 3 and -1. And then the last ordered pair, 4 and -3. Next, this set of values can also be represented using the table. So we can use the vertical table or the horizontal table. So same, the first row will be for the x, and then the second row will be for the y. For the horizontal table, the first column will be for x, and then the second column will be for y. And then we will write the first coordinates, 0 and 5, second coordinate, 1 and 3, third coordinate, 2 and 1, fourth coordinate, 3 and -1, and then the last one we have 4 and -3. The last representation of relation is using a graph. So we will use a Cartesian plane here. So we will graph the first coordinate 0 and 5. Since x is 0, we will locate this one in the y-axis. So we have 0, 5, it is upward, the y-axis. And then next we have 1 and 3. So it is in the first quadrant. And then 2 and 1, same, it is in the first quadrant. And then the fourth one, 3 and -1, it is at the fourth quadrant. And then the last one, we have 4 and -3. This is how you represent the set of ordered pairs using a graph. Next, we need to find the domain and the range of each set. So for this example, the domain are the x values. So meaning, if they are represented using the set of ordered pairs, we will get all the first numbers inside the parentheses. So these are the domain. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we need to write them inside the curly braces to denote a set of x values, which is the domain. And then for the range, these are the second numbers inside the parentheses or the y. So we have 5, 3, 1, -1, -3. Remember, if the element of domain and range is repeated, you can only write it once. But if not, you may write all of them. And then, we need to find the kind of relation. So here, since we have one-to-one relation because each element in domain has only one partner in range. So we have same number of domain and same number of range. We have 5 domain and 5 range. So each one in the domain has only one partner in range. So this is a one-to-one relation. Example number 2. So we have 0, 5, 1, 5, 2, 5, 3 and -1, 4 and -1. So here we will just find the domain. The domain are the first numbers inside the parentheses or the x. So we will have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. While the range are the y or the second number inside the parentheses. So we will have 5 for the first, second, and third coordinates. They are all the same 5, so we will just write it once. And then we will have -1 for the 4th and 5th coordinates. We will just write it once because it is just repeated. Since we have more domain than the range, we have 5 domains and then 2 range. It is a many-to-one relation, meaning more than one element in domain corresponds to the same element in range. So 0, 1, and 2 have the same range, which is 5, and then 3 and 4 have the same range, which is -1. So we have many domain and then one range, so we have many-to-one relation. The values in range are repeated. Third example, so we have 0 and 5, 0, 3, 0, 1, 3 and -1, 3 and -3. So the domain will be 0 and 3. So we will just write 0 once and 3 once because they are just repeated. And the range are 5, 3, 1, -1, and -3. Here, since we have more range than domain, it is one-to-many relation, meaning one element in domain corresponds to more than one element in range. So the element in domain has 2 or more partner in range. So we have one domain and many range, so it is one-to-many, meaning the domain is repeated. Now we will recall the kinds of relation. First, we have one-to-one relation. If you have same number of domain and range, it is one-to-one relation. Second, we have many-to-one relation. If you have more domain than range, it is many-to-one. The range is repeated. And then last one, we have one-to-many, meaning there are many range than domain. The domain is repeated in this kind of relation. It can be function. It is function if every element in domain corresponds to exactly one element in range. Meaning, the domain cannot be repeated. The domain should only have one exact partner in range. Or for you to understand it easier, X should not be repeated. Bawal umulit si X. But range or Y can be repeated. So in these 3 kinds of relation, which one is the function or not function? In one-to-one, domain is not repeated, so it is function. In many-to-one, the domain is not repeated, the range is repeated, so still this is a function. While in one-to-many, the domain is repeated, the range is not repeated, so meaning this is not function. So in number 3, X is repeated, so it is not function. Number 4. So we have 0, 2, 1 and 4, 2 and 6, 3 and 8. For us to easily see the domain and range, we will use the mapping. We will have the first coordinate 0 and 2 connected with the arrow, and then 1 and 4, and then 2 and 6. Last one, we have 3 and 8. So looking at the mapping, we can say that the domain are in the first oval. So we have 0, 1, 2, and 3, while the range are 2, 4, 6, and 8. So we can see that we have same number of X and Y. So this is a one-to-one relation, and this is a function. Example number 5. We have 9 and 2, 9 and 4, 9 and 6, 9 and 8. Still, we will use the mapping. So here, since we have, so first we will have 9 and 2, 9 corresponds to 2. And then we have 9 and 4. Since we already have 9 in the first oval, we don't need to write it again. So we will just have an arrow going to 4. And then we have 9 and 6. Same as with the second, we will not write 9 again. So we will just have arrow going to 6. And then last one, 9 and 8, arrow going to 8. So if you are using mapping, you don't need to write the value which is repeated so that you can easily see which is the domain and range. So for the domain, we will just have 9 because it is just repeated to the other coordinates. And then for the range, we have 2, 4, 6, and 8. So here, since the domain or the X is repeated, so we will have one-to-many relation. And then it is not function because as I said, X is repeated. Bawal umulit si X, kaya not function siya. And then for the example number 6, we will use a table. For the domain, we will write all the values of X. So we will have -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. For the range, we will just write 3, 1, and 0 because 1 and 3 are just repeated. A reminder, if you are writing your domain and range, it can be in descending or ascending order. And then, since we have more values in the domain, it is many to one relation. And then, here, the range are repeated but not the X or the domain. So, this is a function. Example number 7, we will use a graph. So, we have 5 points. We will start with this point. So, let us write the coordinates of this point. The coordinates are 2 and 4. Second point, we will have 2 and 2. Third point, we will have 1 and -4. Fourth point, we will have the x-intercept, -3 and 0. And then the last one, -5 and 5. Write the coordinates for you to get the domain and range. So here our domain are -5, -3, 1, and 2. This is in ascending order. So we will just write 2 ones because it is repeated in the 2 points, while the range are -4, 0, 2, 4, and 5, still in ascending order. Since we have many range here and fewer domain, it is one-to-many relation. And then since 2 is repeated in the domain, it is not function.